mean, for powerlifting, when you're getting ready for a meet, it is Monday, Wednesday, Friday that you're training. With weekends off, sometimes you'll go in and like try to fix a squat or something like deload, they call it. And then for bodybuilding, you actually do more reps, more muscle connection. Like it's just way different. Like you're doing 50 reps instead of doing 6 reps on a squat to try to get your max. So
yeah. So when you power lift, when you train, do you train, like, do you max out every single time you go into the gym, or like, how does I'm not a power lifter. I've come across some people, of course, that have done it, but I don't think I've ever discussed like how they train.
So it's not really max out. Like you can max out every week, but it's every other week. So one week you'll do, what your heavy is and a PR is. They call it PR. You know your PR. So you're gonna hit that PR for 1 rep. So it's gonna be 6. So say you're gonna go 145, and then you're gonna go 155 for 5, and then 165 for 3, and then for 2 reps you're gonna do your PR, and then with spotting you, and it's just different. It's totally different.
Yeah. How did you notice like any differences in physique, like when you were competing as a power lifter and training as a power lifter? Was there changes to your physique, or did you only notice the changes when you went over to like a more bodybuilding volumized type of style?
Well, I noticed difference because my nutrition was different, eating 5 times a day, training, cardio. So your body just starts to take on a different look over time. It doesn't happen like overnight, of course, but over like the 2-3 years, I have noticed my body, even off season, it looks way different.
But in bodybuilding, you didn't notice any changes. It was strictly like with regard to power.
I mean, I lose strength. Definitely lots of strength, but it shouldn't be like that. But when I'm getting ready for sure, it's like I'm stronger. But in the beginning of starting bodybuilding, you feel weak because you're doing 50 reps and you have to stay at like 25 pounds, and you're like, oh my God, I can't. So
what do you recommend as far as somebody just getting into bodybuilding? Do you recommend like just more volume, just until they get stronger, and then they'll pick up the weight at that point? Or like how would you give somebody some advice in that sense?
Muscle connection is the key. Like definitely, like don't worry about how much weight you're moving, because if you're not moving the weight correctly, you're not really doing anything with the weight besides just floating with it.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that. I was just listening to a podcast, Mark Bell's podcast, Power Project, and he had somebody on, and they were talking about muscle connection and how important like muscle connection is, because it's you can do a lower weight, but if the muscle connection is there, you can actually grow that muscle. And as opposed to someone who's like using a heavier weight, they might not necessarily, they're moving the weight, but it's not affecting their physique much. And it's like, you see that because sometimes you'll see people that work out with fairly decent weight, but like their physique doesn't really change much, and I feel like the muscle connection aspect is huge. That's a big part of it for sure.
I agree. I mean, if you really focus, you'll realize 10 pounds, you can make 10 pounds feel like 50 pounds easily. It's just a matter of the way you're connecting.
Right. And that's a big deal, especially like, well, now things are kind of opening up, and they've been, kind of opening up for a while. But during the pandemic, a lot of people like started to train at home. And so, at home, you're not going to have the kind of, and I'm just speaking from my own personal experience too, because I built a gym in my garage, and I added some weights, I got some 45s, I got this, I got that. But still, even with all that, it's like the amount of sheer poundage that I have in the house is not the same as, a gym. A gym is set up for, things like that. And so like the workouts had to be kind of like, I had to improvise. So like muscle connection in that scenario is extremely important, because you might not even necessarily have the kind of weight, like the amount of weight that you would, in a gym. So I feel like probably a lot of people, are dealing with that as well, or dealt with it.
Oh yeah, of course. I